What are the things that you will do in order to get that brand awareness using PPC?
You might or might not lose market share just because of it.
What are the other KPIs that you normally look into when you are scaling?
I'm always looking back at what is the client's goal.
Do you keep that same campaign structure for scaling?
But usually when it comes to campaign structure, what is really important...
Ecommerce Squeezed podcast.
Welcome to Ecommerce Squeezed. I'm your host, Sebastian, founder of Retail-Outsource. And in today's episode, we are discussing an important topic for Amazon sellers. Amazon PPC scalability versus profitability, balancing risk and rewards. Our guest is Naomi Bologan, co-founder of ScaleWave, a company specializing in Amazon PPC strategies. Naomi launched her first Amazon ad campaign back in 2019 and started her own private label brand in 2020. Recognizing the importance of data analysis, she invested more than 10,000 hours mastering Amazon PPC. So she's going to share a lot of knowledge today. And welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Sebastian, for having me on. It's an absolute pleasure.
Great. So let's start with a client coming to you asking, okay, I want to launch a product on Amazon and I don't want to spend more than from my pocket, basically. So you can play around what's been generated within Amazon. So you can go, like 80 acres in that case. So it will have the PPC and some fees as well. And you can scale for 6 months. So in that scenario, how will the structure look like? The PPC structure look like? How you plan it?
Great. So I love it. Let's break down your questions because there are some pinpoints that I do want to ensure that we understand before even moving forward. Why is this very, very important? Is because usually the type of scenario that you describe is the type of client that's coming to you and it's expecting that you're going to be their executor, based on whatever their vision is. Now, whenever that is happening, this means that this is a client that usually might be knowledgeable when it comes down to Amazon PPC, might not be knowledgeable. The very important points that you mentioned there is like ACOS, right? So the client knows their ACOS, the client understands that it's going to be a process. But what they don't really get is that we actually, whenever the client is coming to us, we are the strategists for the client. So if the client is coming and sharing their goal, that is something that we would jot down and we would let them know, okay, I understand, I see, I noticed. Give me some time to actually see if whatever you're bringing to me is really the case. Because what is going to happen is, in this scenario, again, from doing the same way, the client comes to us, this is what I want, and pushing their ideas, what we noticed is that type of relationships or that type of partnerships are going to last between 1 to 3 months, just because the client does not see that we are not the executive or we are not executing on the account as managers, but we are the strategists, right? So in this scenario, what I would say usually is the client is coming, this is what it is. I would jot down their ideas, their vision for the company, because it's very, very important for us to notice ACOS. We are not playing on an ACOS level. We are playing on a TACOS level, right? So the client, if they don't understand that, it's going to be a huge discrepancy all the time because they are not going to understand the big picture. They understand that it might take 6 months, but they don't get it that our big picture is not ACOS, but TACOS. Because whenever we are going to be judged performance-based by ACOS, which is a PPC metric, we are setting ourselves up for failure just because we are not providing the client that ACOS is a PPC metric versus TACOS, it's an overall product metric, So it's just going to be a bit of back and forth between me and the client or me and the potential partner, letting them know, look, while I do understand your goals, I want to set you up for success because I am 50% in, you are 50% in. If your 50% is going to be based on whatever you think that you know, and my 50% is going to be on executing on whatever you think what you know, your client is going to become your strategist, which means that your client is going to overpay for something that they should not, because they are hiring a strategist, they are not hiring a manager. Does it make sense so far?
Yeah.
So that's going to be very, very important to know. And based on that, okay, the client said, this is the budget, this is so on and so forth. Next step, what we would do, once that we understand this and it's clarity on that, we would go into the account and we would look into what is actually possible and what is not possible. Giving you a super clear example, we just recently had of this type of back and forth where the client was like in product launch phase, and we were telling them, look, like if we are launching the product, is a scalability strategy. We're going to go back on scalability, profitability just in the next few minutes. But product launch, that is by definition a scalability strategy, right? And then we scaled the account, and then they were like, okay, why I'm not profitable, which is like, how can we make your account profitable when we are doing 10 tests in the same time? We are aiming for increasing your revenue, not to make your product profitable. We are in month 1, So there was a lot of back and forth just because we did not understood that based on that, okay, we are going to scale the account versus like we are going in a linear way, Once that we understood that, it's going to be next. They agreed to scalability. And then what happened is exactly just the scenario that you were describing with the client who's coming to you and like, this is my target ACOS and so on and so forth. What it happened is that they did not understood the risk that we need to take in order to make the account, like to scale the account, So that's also something really, really important for the client to understand, not only the time, how long it's going to take, but also what actually the strategy means behind. I feel like I over talked about the topic, but I hope
That's
that I just
detailed explanation. That's fantastic.
All right.
Thank you. And
Sure
to follow up on this scalability side, if it's a new brand, you need to have the brand awareness, right? So what are the things that you will do in order to get that brand awareness using PPC?
Right. So very, very important. You just described a great word, which means awareness. When we are, again, let's take the same example so it's easy for us to follow through. We are in the product launch scenario. At this point, if you don't have external brand awareness, you don't have brand awareness at all on Amazon, which means that no one knows your product. So it's going to be very, very important for us to understand that when the brand means that they want to create brand awareness, in the funnel, the ad strategy funnel, brand awareness is our very last step that we want to achieve with our scalability strategy. Why? It's because brand awareness is converting the least amount of sales, just because they do not have brand awareness on Amazon, therefore no one knows their brand. So in this scenario, what I would do, I would just jot down the ideas on which ad types should we use, why should we use them, and when should we use them. Because once that we're going to launch a product, no one knows it. Let's assume it's a product that really no one knows it. I just use this lipstick at the beginning of the show before preparing. Let's say that this is my brand, right? And in this scenario, this is Lamel. Actually, this is a good example because they just launched a product. They are not our clients, but I am their fan, right? So they just launched a product on Amazon. If no one knows about them when they're launching the product on Amazon, no one knows about them. That is the end goal. If someone knows about them that is off Amazon, what they might be doing, they would come and find them off Amazon and then purchase on Amazon, right? So those two are very important distinctions, because once that we're going to do a product launch strategy and we are also limited on budget, if we're going to target only branded keywords, first off, no one's going to find the product, right? Only the people who are friends and family, go and find my product, buy it with my brand name. So it's going to help with organic boost, right? But that is not the ideal case for us. So in that scenario, what we would look into is bottom of the funnel, those people, those keywords, are they going to find my products? And that technically it's brand awareness. Nothing else is brand awareness. Once that they found it with these keywords, the product, then you can go into oh, actually someone found my lipstick with the Lamel lipstick, right? So that is going to be the next stage that we're going to implement, because right now people already know that I'm a lipstick on Amazon, and now my name, it is Lamel. So they are looking for Lamel lipstick. Did that make sense so far?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
That is why I'm saying it's very, very important. You asked a great question. However, I do believe that we should be defining all the terms before answering them. And this is why I'm just I want to assure that, because your questions are exactly the questions that are coming across whenever clients I want brand awareness, but they don't understand what actually brand awareness means, And if you're not aware of that, and if you're not able to explain that, always the expectations are going to be mismatched and misaligned. And if that small expectation is misaligned, think of it as a big level. Once that you're spending thousands of dollars on Amazon and it's still misalignment, you're going to increase the risk of misalignment for the whole relationship and partnership.
That's a great answer, Naomi. And in terms of challenges, when you scale on Amazon, what are the normal challenges that you face?
Scaling on Amazon. Let's get back to defining the terms. So we are talking about scalability versus profitability. And scalability, what actually means is increasing market share for the product and also increasing revenue for the product. So that is what scalability means. That's how we are defining it. Profitability, what means is keeping or losing partially market share and keeping or decreasing revenue and also decreasing ad spend. So decreasing ad spend, that is something that is going to happen because you want to spend as least as possible on ads. You might or might not lose market share just because we don't know how much you are depending on PPC versus non-PPC, when it comes to revenue. And then keeping or decreasing revenue is going to be if most of the keywords that are bringing you income are generated via PPC, then you might be facing that, right? So whenever we want to scale an account, very important for us is to understand one, risk-reward ratio. So when it comes to scalability, the risk is going to be non-converting ad spend on testing hypothesis. And here, like Sebastian, also on your end, you clearly know that no matter how much keyword research you've done, no matter how in-depth you went for all the keywords, if there's a mismatch between the eyeballs that you're bringing to the listing via advertising and the listing itself, it's not going to convert, right? And all those are going to be non-PPC issues, right? So here, understanding that is one of the risks, more campaigns that we're creating, higher the risk for us to spend on non-conversion. That is the first thing that we have to understand. The reward obviously is going to be that we're going to increase in revenue, right? We're not talking about profitability. We're increasing in the numbers going up. And once the numbers gone up, then we're going to start on profitability. Did that answer your question?
Yes, of course, in detail. Thank you. And in terms of, you mentioned about tacos, right? Mm-hmm. What are the other KPIs that you normally look into when you are scaling, for example?
I'm always looking back at what is the client's goal, because they might understand what scaling is, but if for them scaling is generate X amount of revenue, or is it for them generate X amount of units sold? Because those are two different things, right? And then 3, actually, what it can also be scaling is profit margin, which we would achieve via price increase, decrease based on the price of the unit, right? So those are the 3 factors that you would look into it. Because if the client wants to scale the account and if they want to just increase revenue, what we're going to do, we would be just creating additional ads, right? And then based on those ads, those are going to convert, therefore also the revenue will be brought up. Now, why am I actually dissecting this so deeply? Is because, for example, again, doing your best, doing all the keyword research, doing everything that is in your power that is highly relevant for the product. What we noticed actually this quarter, this was I also created a case study about this. What we noticed is that while we had all the best strategies when it comes to scaling an account, so we created ads, we did in-depth keyword research, we created ads, we optimized, we did not overspend, so everything was there. What we noticed is actually that we focused on a product that we thought it's going to generate more income, that it didn't. And the simple sheer fact is that because the client didn't have a clear goal, it just do whatever, we focused on the product that had the most inventory. And lo and behold, the product that has the most inventory was around $21 price range, when in fact, if we would have zoomed out for clarity and understood that we also have products that are $60, $70, which are also similar, are variations to the main products, that if we are going to focus our attention on those products and advertise for those products, we would have gained just by simply just like that 3 times, 4 times on revenue. So that also comes down to scalability, and that is a non-PPC plus PPC issue that we would have solved. So this is why I was saying we really have to step back and think clearly on whatever we would do, why are we doing it? Because what is going to happen most of the time is that, clients are also business owners, that they are just they're business owners who are dealing with 100 things, and we are business owners who are dealing with their PPC and maybe non-PPC issues, right? So understanding that is going to be very, very important, because there might be well-intentioned, their goals might be good when it comes to their account, but they don't see the whole that we are seeing for their account. On the same end, we are not seeing the whole that they are seeing for their end when it comes to business, So this is why it's boiling down to what is your goal, and then analyzing if the goal is correct for your account or not.
Yeah, that's great. And in terms of, let's say the client came to and say, sorry, let me take a step back. You mentioned about, having a look around and taking a step back and see the full account, right? The full picture. In that case, what are the areas that you will normally look into? So let's say, I don't want to execute any PPC unless you solve this issue. So do you have any list like that saying, okay, if they don't have any review, but again, this is kind of, case to case basis and what the client want, but in general, what are the areas that you normally look into?
A great question. Yeah. So what are the things that we would be looking into? If the client is looking for scalability while being profitable, one of the main things that we would look into that they, for some reason, totally miss, but it's obvious, is what is the profit margin for the product? Because if the profit margin is, first off, if it's a positive profit margin but it's low, even if we would scale the account, it's going to be very hard for them to make money and to have cash flow, right? Second, what if the profit margin is negative for the product? So in that scenario, we would look into, is there a way for us to increase first profit margins for the product and then push ads? Because keep in mind that right now, while we are talking, everything is ads, right? Ads is the 1% that is going to, it's like a glass, zooming glass, magnifying glass, that is going to increase whatever is going right or whatever is going wrong, right? So stepping back, profit margin, that's the first thing. Second thing, what we would look into, how realistic is for us to be profitable with this product if nothing else is going to change on it. And here, a clear example, does it take us 1 month, 2 months, 3 months to see the results? And why is this important is because it's going to help us, both us understand if this is something like based on whatever our knowledge is, our experience and our expertise is, based on that, can we actually bring up the account or can we not? Does the market share wants our product? Does it not? So based on that, we would look into, okay, let's give it 1 month. We have this hypothesis of if we're doing XYZ, it's going to work. If that is not the case, we're going to give it 1 more month just to prove 1 more month, like 1 more additional, like 3 months, in total to see if it's working, if not. And if we see that with everything in our power, the market still doesn't want the product, then we would rethink, should we focus on the next product, So that is the second part. The third part, CPC, and here giving you a clear example. As you know, like it really depends on category. CPC is something that we cannot control. So CPC is an outside factor, and we would look into if we're going to increase spend, CPC, is there any chance for us to get this amount of sales with a lower CPC? And if there is, we can fix it. But if there is not, it's going to be extremely hard for us to scale the account, grow the account, because if the CPC is high, that's already like something that is imposed on us, and we have to really work around that. So if you're like asking me that question, these are the three things that are really top of mind right now: external factors and internal factors. Did that answer your question?
Yes, of course, in detail, as always. That's a very fantastic answer.
Amazing. Thank you.
And, let's see, how do you find the right balance between, scaling and maintaining a profit margin? So let's assume that, client have given all these figures saying this is the X amount, this is the percentage of margin that I have to keep, and you can play around with the rest of it. So how do you balance both of them?
Yeah, so again, it goes back to client might understand what scalability, what profitability means, but what they might not be understanding is at what level can we scale the account? Because what we're noticing, and this is actually going to go into a point that I wanted to make, is that one common pitfall that we're seeing on our end that's skewing our results is that you might go into a firefighting mode. And giving you a clear example, let's say that we want to scale the account and the client says, I have to move inventory and so on and so forth. And like, just do it. They are in a firefighting mode. We become in a firefighting mode unless we understand that whatever they are saying, whatever their goal is like the wrong goal, because we should be focusing on other things, right? Let's assume we are both in firefighting modes. What's going to happen here? Scaling the account. And we have these extreme targets that we have to achieve, either units sold, either revenue increase. What is going to happen is that you might be entering in that firefighting mode and you might be creating a ton of new campaigns. And as we were saying at the beginning, every new campaign is a hypothesis that might or might not work, right? So what can happen very often is that you might be creating 10 campaigns, and especially if it's a client whose CPC or the category that the client has a high CPC, what can happen is that if you're creating 10 campaigns, let's suppose that it's one keyword in each campaign. We're not going into the detail of like, why should you do it and why not? We're just like, so it's easy for us to imagine. 10 campaigns, 10 keywords. Each of them have their own campaign. Let's suppose that our CPC, it's $1 for each keyword, right? So then if we're going to wait for 10 clicks or 15 clicks until we are going to make our first sale, that means that one campaign must spend at least $10 to $15 in order to prove our hypothesis that it's working or it's not working, correct? Now that is for one campaign. let's say that we are doing it for the 10 campaigns, then we are spending around $100, $150 in order to find out what works, what did not work. Now, this is for a category where the CPC is $1. For another category where the CPC is $10, we would have to spend at least, logically, right, if you are going to apply the same math, at least $1,500 to find out what works and what does not. So this is why it's so important to understand first, okay, if you're going to scale the account, how much risk are you going to take? Are you going to start 10%, 20% of your total ad budget into the scaling campaigns? Are you going to apply 50% to those scaling campaigns? And if it's a product launch, 100% risk, right? Because you're starting from ground zero and all that budget is going to go towards hypothesis campaigns, So I believe that also it has to do a lot with how much risk, like in which stage of the product we are in, because based on that, we would see how much risk are we going to apply.
That's great. And you mentioned about the campaign structure. So do you keep that same campaign structure for scaling, or do you have a different structure later on? Once you have enough scaled the brand.
Got it. So yeah, this is why I just like, after I said it, I was thinking, should I give this example or not? To be honest, I gave it just for clarity. So like, I'm a visual learner, and right now, honestly, we're not using like visuals, so this is why it's hard. But usually when it comes to campaign structure, what is really important, the way how we would structure our campaigns, we would find first off keywords that are highly relevant to us. And then once that we found these keywords, we will have to ensure that also they are by intent, not search intent keywords, right? So once that we have that, we would structure them into campaigns, and based on the search volume. A 200 search volume keyword versus a 2000 search volume keyword should not be within the same campaign, simply because it's going to request different budget, right? Because there's like more search for it. Therefore, the one who has the higher search volume is going to consume most of the budget, when the one that it's like 200 search volume that might be super relevant, it's exactly describing your product, your shoppers are not going to find it just because it didn't have budget anymore to convert. So that is the first thing that we would do in order to, before even setting up the campaigns, analyzing that our keywords are going to be structured by the search volume, right? And then based on that, because you were asking about the campaign structure, based on that, we will see, okay, what works, what doesn't work, And usually what we would do is, for example, if a keyword that is like 2000 search volume and it's working tremendously within one campaign, but the other keywords don't have the same amount of traction, traffic, impressions, just because the one that has 2000 is just like taking up all the traffic, what we would do is we would look strategically, should we keep this campaign for this keyword and pause the rest of the keywords that are not working, and for the rest to take them out and create their own campaigns, or like, what should we do next? Because what I want to avoid is giving you the one answer that people are just like, it's not 1 and 0, it's like, it's 1 and 0, and then the whole between is the thinking process of why you would do it, But that would be kind of the strategy behind campaign structure. When do we do one campaign structure versus other?
And when you scale on Amazon, do you use a lot of top of search? Do you give priority to top of search?
I think, to stay clear on the topic, top of search would be for scalability, right? It's not for profitability.
Sure.
So top of search, it's going to be used based on the strategy behind the account, which is, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the 5 Evergreen strategies. I mean, with the Evergreen strategies.
Evergreen, I know, yeah.
So based on those campaigns, what we are seeing is that if it's top of search, it should be for keyword that you already have proof for that is going to work, right? Or it worked in the past 7 to 30 days within your account. So if we're going to use top of search for those ones, it's only those keywords that we would be using top of search. And those are within the scalability strategy.
And I just want to put another factor into that equation. Let's assume that the client have external influencers in marketing their product and everything. So there are a lot of branded search coming in. In that case, will you protect those branded keywords using top of search or any of the PPC campaign types?
Yeah, so here again, what we want to do is we want to go in depth on what is going on the account, because right now, keep in mind that even you asking this question, you already have the full context. I don't, and that's really, really important. And why is that important is because this should be always our mindset. We don't have the full context, therefore we have to search, right? So in this scenario, what you're saying is that if the brand has already brand recognition from external traffic, you're asking if should we still keep running ads for the branded keywords, branded terms that we already converted for, therefore probably organically we're already ranking high on the page, or not. And here there are several factors that first off we have to know. One, when it comes to branded terms that are dominating for that category, let's say we are going to download the search term reports and we will look into, so there are so many branded terms that actually are converting for this product. Should we push hard for those branded terms or not? Because what might be happening is that you might want to compete in a category that is highly competitive, and your only advantage there is that your branded keywords are converting, right? So that could be one of the levers. And then you might be thinking, okay, this branded term, if I'm running ads for that, then clearly that is the majority of your sales revenue where it's going to come from. The moment that you're going to say, you know what, I understand that I have branded keywords, branded terms that are converting, that are generating revenue. However, I want to decide to dominate the market and gain more market share. You might be thinking, and not you, just like I'm the second you person, one might be thinking that it makes more sense for them to rank for other keywords. And here, actually, Sebastian, this is something that we noticed is that if you're going to do that, what might be happening is that people generally are looking for your product just because you have external eyeballs buying your product with the branded term. But they might not be looking for this, going back to my example, they might not be looking for lamel, they might be looking for lipstick. And it might be that for lipstick, you're not converting at all. No matter what you're doing, maybe it's the pricing, maybe it's the pictures, maybe the SEO, but something, it's like triggering people to not buy for lipstick whenever they're looking for your product. However, for lamel lipstick, you might be converting, you know? So then it's going to be, what is my context? I want to understand my context, because based on my context, I want to ensure that I'm going to gain the customer, or like what is the risk that I'm going to pay in order to gain this customer or lose it. Second thing that we would look into is this a replenishable product or not? Here, for example, if I become a fan of the brand Lamel and their lipstick, for my whole life, I'm going to have that on, right? I have a face cream for the past 20 years, what I'm talking about, almost 15 years. I've been using it, right? And that is again something that if whenever I'm going to look for that product, I'm not going to find that product first when I'm going to shop it, my eyes are going to be, should I try something else? Right? So just because they are protecting their own branded terms, and whenever I'm searching for that product on Amazon, I'm finding them, that is guaranteeing me that I'm going to buy that product. That is guaranteeing them that it makes the investment like worth it on the longer term as well.
Before we move into risk versus reward, I have a few more questions. You mentioned about the consumables now, right? So in that case, what are the other tools that you use? We can use sub and save, for example. But is there anything else that you use within PPC to build that customer base?
A great question. So actually right now the subscribe and save is one of the tools that we would use. Within PPC, what we would use, we would look into the how many items did we manage to sell via PPC if we advertise for that product, because that can be also a great indicator for us to see if our branded terms, if our competitor is targeting our branded terms and they are stealing market share from our branded terms. So that would be also one of the things that we would look into on the PPC factor. And the way how we would do that is simply CPC. So if our CPC is $2, once that we gain one sale with $2 for this. If our CPC becomes $5 and we did not increase it, it means that the competition is stealing away our brand recognition and they are targeting it. Did it answer your question?
Yeah. And this is something basic, but I just still want to ask you, we mentioned about the keywords, right? What are the softwares or systems that you use to gather those keywords?
Awesome. So system or software, again, let's zoom out for clarity. So if this is an account that already has data, that they gather data, we are first not even using software or tools. We are using the customer search and reports, because that is going to give us enough information based on whatever we want to do next. So once that we have that, it's great. But for accounts that is not available, so for new product launches, what we would do is we would look into, we're using Helium 10 and we're using also Data Dive, and we are using them for different purposes, but basically those are the two tools that we would use just to prove that whatever we're thinking is going to work for the account, actually it worked also for our competitors.
And in terms of any red flags or warnings that you normally look into while scaling the brand on Amazon?
Can you give me a more more precise example so I can give you
is there any specific areas that you normally, keep an eye on the PPC side? So especially when scaling the brand on Amazon.
Okay. The reason why I was asking for even more specificity is just like this can be a very broad topic that I can talk about like a lot of things, or I can
of course, yeah. So let's assume that we are running around 1 month now. Okay, we are scaling the brand, we have the campaigns running, everything is running, and if something is not working, there will be some red flags, right? There is some areas of the account which will show that sign that, okay, this is not performing well as it should be. So
awesome.
In that case,
I got the context.
Great.
Let me answer then. I think that I have enough context. Thank you so much. All right. So in that case, what we will look into is that let's assume that we did correctly the keyword research. Let's assume that everything what we did, we double checked in order to ensure that for those keywords we are going to rank for, right? Now, after 1 month of trying out strategy, actually, we would not allow it 1 month. We are very much into how many clicks did it took to convert the product. And what we are going to notice is that, for example, if we have 5 keywords that we want to rank for, within the first week, we will see, okay, do we first off get impressions for them? If not, the CPC is not, the bid, it's not high enough to match the CPC, so we will increase the bid. Second thing, what we will look into, do we get too many clicks? That it means that there is demand, but it might be very all over the place demand, and the keyword might be too broad for whatever we want to sell, right? 3, what we will look into is conversion. So how many clicks did it need it for our end to acquire 1 customer or 1 purchase, right? So in that sense, we would look into, is our conversion 2%? Is our conversion 5%? Is our conversion 8%, 10%? And here, so you understand conversion, and our audience can understand conversion is every 10 click converted into 1 sale, every 15 click converted into 1 sale, every 20 clicks converted into 1 sale. So what we do want to assure, and here very quickly, not even leaving it 1 month, but 7 to 40 days, depending on the search volume of the keywords that we are targeting, we want to see that as quick as possible if it's converting for us and how much does it cost. Because what can occur usually is that you're going to let the data get you're not going to get either enough time for the data to be gathered, or you're going to leave too much evidence for the data to gather and you're not going to take action. So this is why I was saying the red flag can be there. Once that we have the data, what are we going to do next? Because then we can assess quickly and realize, is this actually a keyword that is highly describing my product, yet my product will never have the chance to convert for it because my product is $60 and all the products that are really well converting for this keyword, that actually my product, it has its ingredients, if it's a food item or so on and so forth, we are never going to convert on it, So then based on that, we have to assess very quickly what to do next. So one red flag is going to be, okay, I invested this much money in it. This is the conversion. Does it worth it for me, to stay on that keyword and to push that keyword forward? Because if it's not, we have to be super quick, super strategic. And this is not the firefighting mode rather than this plan B, right? We have to know super strategic on what is next for that particular product to see, okay, how quickly are we testing the next keyword? Because if the first one is not working, and again, the red flag is whatever we want to achieve, we are not achieving it as fast, as quick as possible, that is going to be. Second, I think that what is a bad example here, because it can be a really good example, which is do I achieve whatever I wanted to achieve as quick as I wanted to achieve it? Second, that is a bad example, is ACOS level, for example. Let's say that we're going to push a product and the ACOS is 200%, 300%, whatever percent, depending on the CPC, right? Then we would look into, a bad example would be, I converted 1 sale and it took me 200% ACOS. But the question is this a keyword that actually, if I'm going to win and dominate, is it going to bring me a ton of organic traffic, right? So we would have to look also outside of the ACOS realm and look into the TACOS realm. What if I'm ranking this keyword for this product this high, I'm on the first page, and from there I'm going to convert organically? Does it worth it for me? And that would be, for example, a bad example or bad red flag. if you're going to see that the ACAS is too high and you are not willing to go forward for it. Does it make sense? Like why I consider it's important also to look at the, like what a good example and bad example is, because they're both red flags. It's just like, it's going to redirect us to what the next action step is.
Yeah, that's great. And you mentioned about, long-term projection, right? So in terms of initially, you might spend a lot on, ACOS or TACOS, but once you have improved the ranking, the organic percentage will be kind of more or less than the ACOS, right? So is that something that you plan it, like, based on other factors, like, how the competition or category is looking like? So is there any other factors that you normally look into?
Can I have please more context?
Yeah, sorry about that. So let's assume a brand came to you. Yeah, I forgot to give you context. So let's assume that a brand came to you. Okay, so we are running the PPC campaigns and they want to achieve, let's say, the first row, rank 4, organic rank 4. Okay, and we have like a few months, 3 months, let's be specific, 3 months time to achieve that. And we know exactly how much sales we need to make in order to achieve that goal, rank number 4. And in that case, how do you structure? What are the factors? How do you play with that kind of goal?
Got it. Perfect. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the context, because that is like, I'm going to answer exactly your question rather than I'm answering whatever I think that is the question. So I appreciate that and thank you. So, all right. So in that case, what it's going to be very important for us. First off, understanding, is that viable or not? Your goal might be that you want to rank number 3rd and there's no chance for it. So even if you have 3 months, if you have 3 years, does not matter. Is it achievable or not? Once that we detected that it's an achievable goal, next, what we're going to do is, okay, now it's an achievable goal. How are we going to do it? Usually what we're seeing on our end is top of search is the one that is converting the highest. So the strategy here is going to be, I have the one keyword, I want to rank number 3 for it organically. I want to show up on the highest placement to ensure that whenever someone is looking for that keyword, it's going to find my product, right? For this to happen already, we've went through a lot of hoops that is going to showcase us like that it's like whatever our goal is, it's achievable. So next, what is going to be, let's say that it's this keyword that already organically ranked well for you, or organically you're already like producing sales. PPC wise, does it actually brings in sales? Because if it's not bringing in sales, what you might end up with is that for some reason someone would buy the product with, but actually whenever you are going to focus on that specific keyword that you think or you is going to be to believe that is going to produce results, if the PPC side is not showing that to us, what is going to happen is that you're going to end up with skewed data, a lot of skewed data. And why is this important is because we want to assure us that one, the data or the keyword that we want to organically rank for, we already are working on the PPC end. Because if that is not the case, what is going to happen is that you might be ranking organically number 3 for it. Right? But if you're not ranking from the PPC side, it's going to take a very long drive for you to first off bring up the product, on the PPC end as well, and see if you're going to rank or not, right? So that is the next hoop that we should jump. Let's assume again that we are converting from the PPC end as well. Next, what we're going to do is like, how much are we willing to invest in order to get that organic ranking 3? So we already have the confirmation that the PPC works. And then next is going to be how much ad budget or we have to spend from the total ad spend to ensure that that goal is going to be met. And then on a weekly basis, we would look into, okay, how close or how far are we to that goal? And on a daily basis, what we would do, because I mentioned Data Dive, you can definitely use any other software that is tracking your ranking. We personally are using Data Dive. Brandon is just like, shout out to him, right? Based on that, we have to see on a daily basis if the keyword is actually ranking. Because if it's not ranking, it might be some discrepancy between these two. Let's assume again, the keyword is ranking, everything is on track. Then after 2 months, let's say we are even closer to our goal and we achieve that goal. So this is why I'm saying that while the hypothesis is like, it can be that's what we want to achieve, there are so many things that have to go right. And we have to have already proof that it works for us to ensure that we are going to achieve that. Because otherwise, like Sebastian also providing on your end, we are investing so much time and so much money on things, and then we are not reusing it. We are not thinking, how would this apply to another brand, And what we've seen so far is that whenever we wanted to push something, if we didn't have enough information, enough validation that already worked and we can duplicate it, we would have this thought that we can do it when we cannot. And the client doesn't know, you don't know, and then you're spending like 3 months of their time and your time to prove that actually it's not working, So this is like based on, this is why so many back and forth of do we have data that it already worked previously? Because if we don't, then it's a different case. Does it make sense?
Yeah, that's fantastic. And, let's assume that you have reached the goal of that organic ranking. Okay, I achieved it. So then it's a matter of maintaining that ranking. So, how do you, in that case, how do you play around? How do you play around with the PPC?
Right. So as you were mentioning just a bit, the Evergreen Strategy campaigns here, for example, we are going to talk about the Dominate campaign. And here, to ensure that we're going to keep that ranking, we would always pay top dollar to show up in the first position for that keyword. Because what we want to do is we want to ensure that for that keyword, we are always showing up. What can most of the time happen, and this is one of the most common mistakes, is that usually ad managers are going to consider that if they're going to lower the ad spend, or that if they're going to optimize the account, it's like over optimization. When in fact here, what you never should do if you want to keep ranking for that one keyword, never touch it. Why I'm saying that is this is one of the most common mistakes, how you can lose your placement for one keyword that you did not pay attention to. You were just like overall optimizing. If you have the keyword, dominate for it. Ensure that you're always showing up for it. Ensure that no one else can steal the keyword. Why? It's because one, you paid already a lot of money to get that ranking. Two, in case, let's say that things are going south and you have to become way more budget conscious, and you have to understand that this strategy, the dominant strategy, is not always going to bring profitability, rather than it's going to, on an overall product level, is going to keep your spot there so you're continuing to get the same market share. We have to acknowledge the fact that it might be that that keyword, it might not be any more relevant for your product, because there might be like other products that just came in and they are a better market fit to whatever that keyword describes whenever someone is looking for the product. Then it's going to be a strategic decision for us to decide, should we still be ranking for that keyword? Should we move to a different keyword that makes more sense for us and it's more profitable for us? So that is the way how I would see it, rather than how do we ensure to stay there? Because if I'm going to ensure to stay there, I think the first blind spot that is going to be is that, okay, now that I'm staying there, it's mine, when in fact it's not yours. Everyone is competing for that keyword,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's very hard to maintain it. There are a lot of other factors that plays into it, right? And for the Evergreen system that you are mentioning, you have a wonderful video, full episode dedicated on that. But for the viewers, just could you please explain what it is?
Thank you. Sure thing. Let's not assume, right? So we're going to stay correct to our trade. Yeah. So basically the Evergreen strategy, this is something that I put together around 2-3 years ago, and it's a system or mental framework that we operate in. And what this actually means is that for each account, any stage of product, and it doesn't matter like what type of PPC it is, it's PPC, Amazon, Google, Facebook, whatsoever would be, there are 5 strategies that are going to be applicable always in an account. The first strategy is going to be to protect. Protect means that anything that is branded, keywords or branded, like whatever that is your brand, you're going to protect it. If you have multiple listings, you're going to protect your own listing. Second, it's going to be to conquer. This is exactly just like the protect, but is going to be, you're going to target your competitors' listings, right? And here the goal with this strategy is going to be to get cheap sales. We are not going to go for dominating branded keywords where we have zero chance. We are going to go for easy to piggyback on someone else's misalignment, or someone else's, like they just did not take care of their listing. The third strategy is ranking, and the rank strategy basically means that we're going to use exact match keywords to ensure that organically we're going to rank for those specific keywords, right? Here it can be either branded terms, it can be either like a specific generic terms. The fourth strategy is going to be dominate, which basically means that for that particular keyword that we already have proof that it works, we are going to dominate for. The previous question that you just asked, it's answering to that particular dominate campaign structure, where it's going to, you're just like ensuring that you're going to stay stable in the marketplace for that keyword. And the fifth one, it is discover. So basically here, everything that is auto, everything that's broad, everything that is phrase, everything that is category targeting, everything that is like maybe longer term and so on and so forth. Those are the discovery keywords that we are going to generate sales with. However, for those, we don't have to dominate, we don't have to rank necessarily. That is just everything that is going to be just piggybacking on whatever already works for the account. Why is this really important for anyone to know is I put together this framework, this mindset, because I'm coming from a totally different industry. I'm coming from music production, right?
That's a fantastic framework though. I need to say that.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And the reason that I put this together is because 5 years ago, when I learned Amazon PPC, because I had to, because we started our own brand, we had a limited budget and so on. And actually I was like, new challenge for me, let's do it, I had a very hard time to understand this. So this is why I put this framework together, because now it's easy to explain to anyone who's like, okay, what is PPC about? And like understanding how you would strategize for your campaigns is crucial, because if you understand this part, it's going to help you, have the same vocabulary and like if I'm talking to Sebastian right now and I'm asking him, for example, hey, please create a dominate campaign for my account, he would know what needs to be done. 2 is like also it's easable way for teaching someone else like what is going on within the account.
That's great. Even the structure for the Evergreen, there is nothing complicated on that. It's quite simple and you can quite easily explain to the client as well, right? They will understand
Exactly.
There's no terms or complicated terms like what we have on the PPC. So that's great.
Exactly.
And my last question will be, is there any specific software that you use to manage your PPC, or is that fully manual, or is that a hybrid system that you have?
Yeah, so right now we are using only bulk files, and reason for that is that actually I was testing also like bid management softwares, but what I'm noticing so far, we like to have as much control as possible when it comes to ads. While automation, I am all for automation. Actually, iteration is one of our core values at ScaleWave, and iteration, one of the sub niches of iteration is like automation. What I'm noticing so far is that automation can go as far as your knowledge is. A system is stupid unless it's guided. AI is stupid unless it's guided. So that's why we are still using bulk file systems, and we already created kind of an automation based on whatever our thinking process is. So it's going to speed up the process. But when it comes to how do we optimize things, we are still using bulk files for that.
That's a good. And I have the same experience with. I spoke with a lot of other PPC agency. They are always sticking to the bulk file, manual editing, and the kind of automation with the formulas and stuff like that. But mainly sticking with the traditional Excel that still works fantastically.
Yeah.
That's great.
Also,
and yeah, please
so
go
there,
ahead.
just because you were asking about software, actually, to be super upfront, right now we are testing AdBadger. We're not testing AdBadger for their bid optimization, but for like PPC on steroids when it comes to downloading data, uploading data, seeing a bunch of data gathered without like us manually doing. So if you're looking for any software that it's going to help you, I would first off look into any software that can optimize your process. So here, for example, as I was saying, because internally we already understand how Google works and understand macros and understand optimization, it was way easier for us to do it manually. But if you are looking into how to gather data quickly, I would look into softwares like the AdBadger software that is going to give you right away the data that you need. So you don't have to get this extra skill of how do I create macros, So I'm not saying that you should not be using those tools as well. It's really sit down, realize what the skills are and which is the knowledge gap that you don't have. And if there's a software out there that's going to help you with, find the software, use the software until you're creating your own stuff.
Yeah, and on the badge, PPC badger, what is that? AdBadger, right?
AdBadger, yes. AdBadger
Yeah.
it's called.
Is that
and
a
it's the
Google
PPC
Sheet, right? Something like Google Sheet. I mean, we haven't used it yet, or is that something different?
No, it's not a Google Sheet. I think you're talking about bread with the PPC, with his PPC tools. No. So AdBadger is basically a software that you would use. You're creating your own account, and then based on creating your own account, it's gathering you data for longer time ranges and like a lot of things. So it's not Google Sheets. They have their own software. Yeah.
Means I got confused because if I remember back, a few months back, we tried one of their sheets that you can download from the website. It's to show the ad wastage. It was focused on that side mainly. So it was fantastic, actually. Yeah. And
Got it.
thanks a lot, Naomi, for sharing all your knowledge and where people can find you. And is there any offer that you want to give it to the audience?
So yeah, easiest to find me is going to be still LinkedIn. I am actively daily posting there on LinkedIn. Feel free to connect with me, say hello, let me know that you listened to this podcast, which parts you enjoyed, which part you didn't, which part you want to find out more. Happy to hear that. If you're interested, we also have our website. So website is scalewave.io. That is scalewave.io. scalewave.io. That is also a way to find out more about us. Another way is just like you can email us at contact@scalewave.io if you have one specific question, for example. What else? So the offer would be here, because you were asking if something that we want to offer. Definitely, we do want to offer as much value as possible. So happy to whoever thinks that this would be the right, they want to find out more about their account or so on and so forth, or ask questions, you can do so by emailing us. That would be the best way for us to like see, okay, where are you currently? If you need anything specific for the account, how can we guide you? So that is still going to be the best way.
That's great. Thanks a lot, Naomi. I will put all the links, the LinkedIn profile, the website, and the email, so you can click on it and find more details about Naomi. And thanks a lot, Naomi, for coming down here. Appreciate you sharing the knowledge.
My pleasure, my pleasure. And as I was saying at the beginning of the show, the end goal is that because right now, like both of us talked, that our audience is going to learn as much as possible. And the idea is that right now we talk quick, very, very fast. The questions were like a lot, like covered a lot. I would highly, highly advise anyone listening to this episode, re-listen once again, because you're going to learn something new and something new and something new. So thank you so much for giving me the opportunity, Sebastian. It was a pleasure.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.